Hello and welcome. Today we're looking at security threats, police involvement in crime, and also the withdrawal from Donkorkrom. And then we're looking at the supposedly shooting range in Tema. It must be a cause for concern. The rate at which anytime there's a crime issue and there's a police element, it's not that they were there to stop the crime, but they were partaking in the crime one way or the other. Once upon a time, this was a calling, like a teacher's calling or a clergyman's calling, where somebody was a policeman. It was all of honor, protection, and service. But now, the police says they have a 3,000 vacancy for police people, and like a 250,000 people queue up just wanting to join the police. You know why? It's just a guaranteed paycheck. I don't believe all these people are actually willing and hoping to serve, but just to find a daily bread. And is this an institution that we're going to leave open for people who are just looking for a means to an end? The discussion is going to be very, very interesting today. My name is Nana Sankofa the fourth, Akwamu Edumasahene, and also your host. When I come back from this quick break, I'll introduce my guest and the conversation will start. Let's go.
Because of lawlessness, because these people embarked upon the rioting unlawfully. I mean, they were supposed to notify the police at least 5 clear days before the demonstration. They didn't do so. They went on the demonstration and started rioting, destroying the very accommodation that the people who are providing the protection for you inhabit, attacking their residential accommodation, such that the people who are providing the protection don't have any place to work from. They don't have any accommodation to lay their head in after the whole day's work. And they even attack them and injure 2 of the officers in the course of the rioting, such that their lives are in immediate danger. What do you expect? You know that a dead man doesn't provide protection. And so, for a moment, it is just appropriate that, in fact, that if after the assessment, the IGP comes to that conclusion, then it is just appropriate that we withdraw, re-strategize, and see whether the condition will permit a return to work.
Okay, so what you're saying is that because of lawlessness, the police is going to stop enforcing the law in Donkorkrom for a while.
That is not exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying that because of the lawless activities of the people of Donkorkrom, especially those who took part in the rioting, the police station has been vandalized. So that facility, which is a necessary condition for the continuous discharge of duty of the police personnel there, is no longer there.
Okay, have you considered
the rioting situation?
Okay,
the accommodation that is inhabited by the police officers is also not there. And these are not police officers who are on operations there. As we speak, we have police operation men there. They do not necessarily need office accommodation to be operating from. They do not necessarily need residential accommodation to be inhabiting before they go to work. But these officers who are living in the community and operating from the charge office and living at the barracks, they need these facilities to be able to live there and continue working. And if these things are not there, if these things have been taken away from them, how do you expect them to work? And what is more important is that these officers were targeted. They were attacked.
Yes,
so they must be sure that their lives are safe so that they can continue to provide protection and security for the people in the town.
Yes, I mean, they were attacked, like you said, and those who attacked them broke the law by doing so. So if you withdraw from there, who is going to enforce the law on those who are breaking it?
Yeah, you see, that is what they should have known at the onset. That you don't go about attacking law enforcement officers.
So
we are saying that.
So you are punishing them by not punishing them
because the condition or the situation is not conducive
is that this is not the first time this has happened. I think in the last 12 months, there was a similar case somewhere in the Bronhafo also. Two things come out of these cases. We need to identify, arrest, and prosecute those people to serve as a deterrent. Because by creating the impression that ordinary armed civilians can attack a critical frontline first responder security institution like the police service, and that they retreat and get their properties burnt down, sends a very dangerous signal. And particularly taking into consideration the fact that we live in a particularly unstable, dangerous sub-region, we cannot and we must have a situation where a signal is sent that anyone at all can exchange fire with representatives of the Ghana Police Service. So the initial response that has been given, that we are withdrawing our services because we don't have a place to sleep, I think sends a terribly wrong signal, A, of the failure of our emergency response mechanisms, B, the failure of our early warning signs, and thirdly, and more disturbingly, that you can exchange fire with the Ghana Police Service and its personnel, and they will pull out. That must not be allowed to happen. That signal must not go out, because the long-term unintended impact is that it's very negative, not only for the service, but for the country as a whole. Confirm this. Riot and riot control are the biggest historical challenges to the Ghana Police Service. We've seen it with multiple, inquiries. The Boys report, the latest being the Okujeto report. Okay, riot control is a mega problem for the Ghana Police Service. And I think in all cases, it must be possible, and I think CFAS indicated it, that the good ones in that community who are now suffering the police withdrawal ought to have provided the information. If that is so, then personnel of the police service must be able to identify the agitators and those who led the process. If they fail to do that and to arrest those people, then I think the intelligence side of policing is very problematic.
Gathered at Committee 3 Ramsar site, a part of it, and had turned the place into a private shooting range where they go to rehearse and then prepare for their next operation. And so police, after receiving that information, moved in. And when we got to the place, that's the Committee 3 Ramsar site, the intention was not to go and do any other thing apart from going there to make an arrest and then ask the following questions: who gave them the right to use that portion of the Ramsar site as a private shooting range, and then again to find out if the guns or the weapons that they were using were even licensed, and if they were, what did they get their licensing from, and do they even have that right to even own those weapons? That and then many other questions were what we're going to find out from them. But then when we got there, we noticed again that they use empty plastic bottles as their targets when they are rehearsing. And so at the scene, we got there, and quickly when they saw us, they opened fire on us. And per our rules and regulations as policemen and women, if you go to any front and you find out that your life is in immediate danger or your life is under attack, it is within your power. I mean, it is permitted that you defend yourself. And so, yes, when we got there and they opened fire on us, the only option at the time was to also return fire just so we can protect ourselves. And in the process, one got shot, 2 others were arrested, and then as we speak, 2 are on the run. The good news is that after that operation, we have given some kind of security eye to that area. And then we have also sat or met as regional command to see if there are other places where these kind of operations are going on in the region. We have found out a few places, and so we have also kept our eyes on those places. But obviously for security reasons, we'll not be able to tell you, mention those areas to you. But then the assurance is that this thing is not going to happen ever again in the region, because, well, then we have our ears, we have our eyes on the ground. So basically, that's what happened.
Arias Nana Ochre, age 28, profession social worker. Then we have George Eshom, alias Kofi, age 29, profession businessman. Ure Hari Kofi, age 32, profession businessman. 7 different vehicles so far have been retrieved. Investigations are still ongoing. The suspects shall be arraigned before court. Meanwhile, the Police Regional Command wants to assure the public that we are very much alive and will go after all the criminals, and we shall get them, we shall arrest all of them. To the public, we want to advise them that they should install car tracking devices in their vehicles, and remember to remove their ignition keys from the vehicle whenever they intend to come out of the vehicle. They should be attentive to suspicious phone calls and other conversations by their vehicles. A life lost is irreplaceable. Always remember not to struggle with the attacker. The police will surely go after them. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for staying, and that pretty much sets the tone of the discussion this evening, and it all comes all the way back to the police. With me in the studio right next to me is my brother who's run away for so long, but you can run, you can hide. We got him back in here. Nanayo Akoda, who's Executive Director for Bureau for Public Safety. Nanayo, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Good, good. And then I have my senior brother, Wing Commander Nene Patrick Sobojo, retired, and also a security analyst, not a stranger to the show. Nene, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Nene, let me start with you, and then let's start with the Donkorkrom issue. I mean, I find it very peculiar. If we backtrack a little bit, the citizens of Donkorkrom got upset because there was sort of a robbery which involved, civilians and the police. And in transporting the civilians and the police managed to escape, but the civilians did not. So the Donkorkrom citizens were like, no, hold on, there's something fishy. How come your guys escaped and the regular citizens did not escape? So it's like a breakdown in trust or something, and he ended up here. So, I mean, I'll leave it to you. You're a security expert.
Well, I believe the first thing we must examine is what kind of relationship exists between the police in Donkorkrom and then the public. It's absolutely essential that the police should cultivate some form of relationship with the public. I am wondering, I believe there might be more than 10 police officers in Donkorkrom. Have they played football against the citizens or volleyball? What's the relation between their wives and a market woman? It's when you have a cordial relationship, then trust comes in. Then the next information you need, you will get it. But if there's that confrontational issue between the public in Donkorkrom and the police, this was bound to happen. Maybe that was up to their truth. Now, if you also read what was published in the papers, it meant that a lot of cases go there and they don't see the end of the light, and a lot of arbitrary arrests and few things. This, as I'm saying, could have been eliminated if they reorient themselves that we want to be friends with the people, but still maintaining the baton of the law. I'm sure this thing wouldn't have happened. So maybe there are remote causes, and this was the immediate cause. So we should try and tackle what has been going on. And this is not only to Donkorkrom. It's been happening all over the country. So what kind of relationship do they have with the people they are maintaining law and order over? If they don't have that kind of good relationship, then we expect, rows and things to come.
The withdrawal, I mean, as a security person, the withdrawal, one finds it very amusing. However, I mean, there are communities who haven't even seen the police before. So, where does the argument stand that you can't withdraw the police? I mean,
I haven't come into any situation decades in this country where the police will go into a riotous situation with the public and then say we are withdrawing. It's never happened. Even in war situation, show of presence is absolutely necessary. When there's attrition, your presence there so keeps some form of law and order. But if you withdraw totally from the area, then what happens? Mayhem. And the police, don't forget, are armed. They have personnel. In riot control exercises, which all of us are taught in the olden days, the police to do with the army. There are sequences when police will have to withdraw or the military will have to withdraw. And there are sequences where maybe an order to fire will come. It's not indiscriminate firing to the crowd. No, it doesn't happen. You shoot, first of all, to maim the person, to send a signal that if they don't maybe stop, you will fire more. These things are, I don't know whether they are being effected. And one shouldn't be trigger happy.
Because I think with the Donkorkrom incident too, when the crowd was attacking, I think there were some shots and it's alleged that someone may have lost their life.
You know what I'm saying? The police should have withdrawn to a safe place until it came down. Then they move in again. And this is what I'm saying, riot control exercise. And I see them doing that a lot when the IGP or a very senior police officer visits a base. They exhibit it to a high degree, crowd control and all this. So why can't they use the same system when they face this kind of problems? I think they should go back and look at it again.
I mean, public safety. I mean, shouldn't the police defend themselves if the Donkorkrom citizens are, attacking or coming towards them, and you're the one with the gun? I mean, I don't know what I don't know.
To the air.
Well, let me say good evening to your viewers. I think that to this end, it's important that we commend the IGP for how quickly he has settled in his job. Of course, Mr. Kudalo is an experienced police officer, having risen through the ranks to this age. I think so far he has discharged himself very well. So there's a need for us to commend him. Secondly, I want to just pick from where Commander left it. He mentioned sequence of actions that must be taken when the police are faced with a potentially escalative situation. I think ever since this issue broke up, including the Tama one of the things we've been talking about is building how the police must build trust and how the police must make public their guidelines for situations like this. So at least people will understand when they are crossing the lines, and police themselves, their guidelines, they will know how to withdraw tactically, like when Commander indicated, how to do a tactical withdrawal to put forward a much more superior force when they are faced with such situations. So the problem of the police in recent times have been how to build trust, and then the guidelines, how they approach matters on the field when they have to discharge duty, when it matters most. And I think for a greater part of the time, when it really matters most, the police have come in to discharge themselves very well. I think that these isolated cases must be looked at very well and moving forward.
Commander, is it a case of you're not our friends anymore? I mean, we're here to protect you. You don't seem to appreciate our protection, well, that's it. You can, protect yourselves. In this case, can the chief of Donkorkrom hire the personal security or form a neighborhood security to say that in that case we are going to look after ourselves? I mean, what do you do? The police says, look, we're going with, you burnt down our houses and everything, so we're going. Do you form like a community security or community police and look after yourself?
Oh, there's no way anyone else can form personal security to take care of themselves than the police. They haven't been trained for it. So what we're trying to say here is that if there existed a very good relationship and they know the policemen name by name, the policemen know their name by name, I really doubted if a senior police officer had come out, and there's always a white flag, and to approach the dissidents or the ruffians or those who attack, I don't think they would have taken a shot at him. I think there must have been a high degree of lack of trust with the police there. And this erupted because if you arrest people and civilians stay behind and the policemen run away, there might have been other sequences where the people don't trust the police anymore. It's good the IGP went there and had a judge with the chief. Now what they have to do is rebuild trust. They should be friends, not antagonize each other. It can be done. Let them do joint games. Let the market women and their wives come to market. They see them joking together. That will ease tension. But withdrawal won't solve it. And then the chief of Donkorkrom cannot also form his own personal police. They have not been trained. So how are they going to? Because it's not an isolated case. I hear some of the villages alongside also demonstrated. How are they going to handle them? Who is going to pay them? It won't work. They have to reel and rent and say the police will live in peace with the people out there. I think this will help.
Nana, let me come to you with regards to the supposed shooting range in Tema, which there's two stories. The police says they were being fired upon and therefore they retaliated and somebody died. The local residents said, no, this guy was just going in the bush, to go and do his business like, 5 million other Ghanaians would do. Is this shooting range, is it like a registered shooting range or is it just a park where people are just shooting? I mean, public, Bureau of Public Safety, what should we do?
Okay, just a little bit on the trust that Wing Commander touched on. I think the bit on trust is a very important ingredient that moving forward we have to look at if we expect to have effective policing of our communities. Of course, that translates into effective policing nationwide. When Commander have made reference to the police having, basically interacting or engaging the citizenry at the community level, we have said that the police have to do that and more. We are looking at people who are so suspicious of a unit, of an institution. And that suspicion did not just come yesterday. It started many, many years back. Many, many years back from when the police started investigating their own, whenever they come into confrontation with the citizenry. It started many, many years ago from when the police decided that they were going to hold investigation reports to their chest. And we started working in 2009. In 2013, there was an issue at Accra Newtown involving some police officers and some ex-convicts. The community people said that the police literally shot, murdered these guys. The police said no, these people opened fire. The Bureau of Public Safety could not corroborate the story of the police. And so we, at the time, we wrote to PIPS to ensure that when their investigations are done, they should make at least give us a copy or make the investigation report public so we can all digest it. This is how you build trust. But it comes out at the end of the day, the police puts out the report. In most cases, they have exonerated their men. I refer you to Donkorkrom in Kumasi, where a young man, a 22 or 29-year-old man, was also shot. And then postmortem comes up and the community goes berserk. You understand? At the end of the day, what really the police have done is they've created a certain wall around them that makes the citizenry to always be suspicious of their actions. It is possible that if I arrest an ordinary citizen and a trained police officer, trained, he knows the protocol, he understands the sequence of how we are going to transport them, and it is very likely that the arresting officer, if he is not very intelligent or has not been trained how to even arrest skilled people like his own, it's very possible that things might go wrong, which I suspect that is what probably happened. This probably was a genuine escape, but the community could not come to terms with it. It is all because of some of these things. We have called for the establishment of an independent police complaints commission. We have, together with the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative and other civil society organizations, we've met with the Parliamentary Select Committee, was headed by Honorable Fritz Bafo, for Defense and Interior. We've tabled this, we've met the police administration itself, and we've gone through meeting Shraj and all. So we're expecting that by now, the police should be moving away from the PIPS concept into a more independent police complaints commission that will be tasked with investigating some of these things so that they will build more trust. But that has not been done, and that's why the police find themselves in the kind of quagmire they find themselves now. So moving forward fast forwarding to what happened at Committee 3 in Tema.
No, because I need you to explain that better for me. So let me take just a quick break and come back to the Tema thing, because I am a bit baffled, because I never knew there was a shooting range in Tema. So stay tuned, I'm coming back. Well, thank you very much for staying, and we're just looking at police just seems to be appearing in every story that's not too straight. You hear one policeman in there or the other. It's just a little bit too uncomfortable, or one too many. But now we've gotten to Tema. What we're doing in Tema, there's a supposedly shooting range where first the story broke out that there were armed robbers being trained there. The local citizens claim, no, it's not armed robbers. They do hear a few gunshots. Somebody was dead. The local says, no, the guy was just there to do his own business. The police says fire was open on them. But then Nana Akoda, who's the executive director for Bureau for Public Safety, has been there. Indeed, he's shown me the video of what's happening there. But so I think you need to give us a proper picture of what this place is and what happens there and why this guy got shot.
I'm not good at painting pictures with words, but I'm going to try. And of course, viewers will have to bear with me that the police is still investigating the issue. So I'm not going to. I'm going to try as much as I can to keep things open, just for the police and also for the viewing public. What happened in Tema? Of course, the place where was claimed to be a shooting range. Indeed, when we went there, it was a shooting range. This was a place from where probably shooters will stand to where they will hit their target is not more than 80 meters, not more than 80 meters. And they will shoot into a heap of mud. Yes, you shoot into a heap of mud. We found out that they were not using armor-piercing stuff. They were using these pellets, targeting at bottles and so on and so forth. As to whether it's a training ground for armed robbers, I think we would wait for the police to establish that. But what we can establish is that, yes, was a shooting range. What we cannot as it were, I can't find the word. What we cannot establish is that it's a range for, if you like, armed robbers. Okay. What we also found out was that the place is so close to the community.
Is it like people who just want to have a hobby of shooting, or are these people?
Well, our understanding is that the inspector also who leads people there to train them has been picked up. What we suspect is that probably he may be taking people who have legitimately acquired pump action gun and want to learn, practice shooting. He may have been training those people there, because I find it extremely baffling that an officer, well, it's possible, but an officer in the glare, in the light of day, will lead a gang of armed robbers in daylight through a community, because you need to actually go through the community to reach where you have to go and train the people. That an officer will walk in uniform to go and train people who have not acquired their guns legally, but it is possible. And if that is the case, it's to be a very terrible matter for the officer. But that's what really happened. But as to, if you look at where the guy was shot and where the shooting range is, there are a lot of questions that come up, especially when the police to date have not been able to inform the public or disclose to the public what ammunition the guy had, or what type of arms the guy had, whether he was firing on them, and so on and so forth. Then we have a few questions to ask, and that's where we also come back to the guidelines, the sequence of actions that the police commander mentioned, that it's very important that when the police go out on some of these operations, they must act very, very professionally, and they must act with order, because if you waste the life of one person by pulling of a trigger, you have wasted so much. This is a guy who's basically is an orphan, because the father was buried just 3 months ago, the mother died long ago, and trying to put life together. We have been there, we've seen where he lives, his room and everything. The police have been there to ransack his room, ostensibly in search for arms or other items that they can actually link him to what they are saying that he is. And I do not know what they have found, but we have found every piece of information on the contrary, and we are waiting that the police will come clean on this matter.
Is he a taxi driver?
Yes. He's not a full-time taxi driver. Our understanding was that in the community they've been giving him spare, you know. And so that's how the guy lives. And I understand on the day the thing happened, he was attending to Nature's Call. The community folks have planted a palm front, if you like, at where he was shot, barely squatting where he was shot. And what hurts us most, and we will wait, because I spoke to the uncle this evening, and a few things that I learned, I don't want to put that on record now. It's sorry that we'll have trained police officers, conduct themselves in this manner when they go on site. It is true, when people open fire on the police must return fire. It is a standard practice everywhere. Once you open fire, you should be ready for fire. But we do not know this guy opened fire. If he opened fire, the police must come clean on that.
But then, I'm just baffled. But why would the police just come here, see somebody doing his own business? There's him, just shoot and kill that person. Something may have really gone wrong. Was it somebody's hand may have accidentally slipped on the trigger? Because if this guy is so harmless as you're being described and out there doing his business, why would some couple just come back and say, look, there's a guy there, just kill him?
I'm sorry, probably before you move on to Commander, it's important that we, the public, know the guidelines for the police, how they act. For all we know, nothing like that exists. And when the police go out there, all they look out for is their safety. All they look out for is targets. We need to know what guidelines exist for the police when they go on such operations, and whether those guidelines were followed. Because what we understand in the whole world over, when criminals are fleeing, unless you are on a shoot to kill mission, when criminals are fleeing, you are not supposed to kill them. The worst you can do is to maim them, but you are supposed to pursue them till you are able to bring them to a halt, accost them. So when you find someone squatting, assuming that this gentleman is an armed robber and he is squatting, you are supposed to speak to him to surrender. And if he does not surrender, you fire at him. Nothing of this sort probably happened.
We are not, until after investigation, we are not going to know, Commander, if indeed he was, stop squatting and get up, and he didn't get up, or probably the toilet roll from afar looked, precarious.
What baffles me is that when you take soldiers or policemen to a site and you issue ammunition to them, there must be an officer who controls the firing. It's not like the old cowboys we saw in movies where everybody is shooting. The officer will be the one to give an order to shoot. Now, even to shoot, like he said, he shoot to maim him, so you can grab him to serve as a deterrent to whoever it is. But you just don't go and you hear a shot, pow, then everybody discharges his ammunition. From what I've just seen here, you saw that all the cartridges were pellet cartridges. They were not military or police cartridges. And unfortunately, the basic weapon we issue to police here, the AK, is one of the most deadliest assault rifles. A little trigger on it can discharge hundreds of bullets at a minute. Recently the inventor himself said he never knew. That's why what he actually brought out will kill so many people. So how are the police going into either arrest or to confront would-be routers who orders who to shoot? And I haven't seen any situation where they shot into the air, which is a prerogative. You have to shoot into the air and to see if they don't pull back. Then also gives an order for someone to shoot. In the olden days, they may give you bullets who don't have the bronze or whatever metal it is. You only shoot, it makes the noise as if it's a bullet, just to silence them. But now, every time they confront or you come across any router situation, people are shot all over the country. So maybe they have to come back and re-examine how orders are given to the police officers who accompany the senior officer on the site. See, the police training now, I believe they spend some time in what we call boot camp, where they learn marching, weaponry, and few other things. But the content of policing is not just firing and arresting people. The law, the few things which must be put into the recruits. Because after 8 weeks, when you send them out into public and they are not properly controlled, then you are going to experience this kind of situation.
Commander, you're from the old school, so let me start with you. When we were growing up, somebody could walk into your father's house, or you could meet somebody at church in a civilian clothes, and you knew that, no, Papa, you're police. His grooming, his posture, his height, you could just tell that, no, this man was a policeman. Today, even when they tell you he's a policeman, you probably have to probe. So, what you did? I said, oh, what? You have to probe. Is the quality or the caliber reducing, or is just a new generation policeman?
Well, we've been talking about a ratio of a policeman to number of people he's supposed to control. And we are comparing these things to advanced countries or
United Nations standards.
500, yeah.
It doesn't work. The quality of a policeman must be a super class. Like you say in the olden days, your mother could drag you to a policeman's house and say, discipline him for me. But it all boils down to the confidence your mother had in that policeman disciplining you. He's not going to slap you. He frightens you. And now it looks like there is some kind of mistrust between the general public and the police. And the police must go back and re-examine how recruits are trained before they come out. Honestly, I drive around sometimes and I see some policemen and I wonder how they got in there. Because the structure, everything doesn't portray, I say they even lack confidence. Like maybe the old Buga Buga type. But even that, they was tall, hefty people. When you saw them, you got frightened. But we see these young boys and girls, and you can see, as I said, they don't have confidence. So the least thing he's going to get is AK. And without instructions, he or she going to start shooting. Because he's fighting for his own life. So the content of training should be looked at again.
There's a message from Frank Yeboah. It says, Frank J. A policeman told my brother he's waiting for the new government to come so he could also be sent to MTTU. This government is sending only their people to MTTU and sending them only to the banks and private people homes guarding where they don't get anything. Him and his friends don't get anything. When their government come, they will also get MTTU.
So right from beginning, he's the wrong type. You know, he's coming because of peer pressure. You see, in olden days when you went to the military or police, the pay you get was nothing to write home about. But all the amenities you get, if you actually quantify them plus your pay, you're far better than your civilian counterpart. But now a young police officer says, somebody he was in elementary school with, secondary school with, driving a Mercedes-Benz, and he doesn't even have a motorbike. There's a pressure. I want money to be able to buy a car too. But we should not train them that way. They should be confident in the uniform they are wearing. And don't look outside to get a peer pressure on them. Hence, we're getting police men doing all kinds of stupid things like car snatching, this and that. It was unheard of. It's all extra money that they need because maybe they see their counterparts, superiors and inferiors who are making money. I also want to go and do it. That's another problem we have to try and tackle with the police.
No, I mean, the last time the vacancy was opened, I think the police were looking for 3,000 and like 250,000 people queued up, all wanting to get there. And you can tell, they are there for a guaranteed paycheck. What can we do to reduce it? I mean, should we forget about trying to hit this 500 to 1 and go for quality, or this is the new generation kid? There's nothing we can do.
Well, for the numbers that would apply to enter the service, I think there is very little we can do about it because as a very young nation, and I've been hearing the last couple of days that majority of our the Ghana's demographic is a majority. We are concentrated around the youth under 25 or so, and so you are likely to see these things when it is published that the police want to recruit. What really the police must do is how to sieve these 250,000 people to get the quality and the numbers that they need, and that would mean they need to do something about the processes that they use to undertake their recruitment. If the processes for recruitment is poor, they are going to end up with a very poor police service. If the recruitment processes is stringent, good, and can sieve very well, you get the people with the right mental attitude into the service, and that's going to help. And Commander here mentioned confidence. I think in the police service, if you go to a place like the United States for their public safety officers, confidence is key. How a policeman stands and even speaks to you matters a lot.
But very assertive.
Very, very politely, but very assertive. A friend of mine say, America police ni or pouch else not the
whole I have to take you in.
Yes, I'm sorry, sir. Please step out of the car. Sorry, sir. I need you to put your hands up for me. Sorry, sir, please. It's not the whole call. We need that. But over here, what happens is that the policeman will be arguing with you, throwing tantrums all over the place, and if you are small like me, they will just bundle you anyhow and throw you somewhere. But in this, it doesn't happen. We need to train the police with these things. And we are talking about post-recruitment training. It's not late. I believe that, look, when we compare ourselves to America, it's okay, but that's about 200 years, 150-year gap. So 50 years is okay. We need to train our men, post-recruitment training. I don't know how often police officers are trained in our country. Elsewhere, every year, you must spend some time in the class. In the class. Not at the barracks, not at the station, 2 hours, 1 hour, or those 30 minutes talk in the class.
Commander, this is to probably buttress your point. This is from a security couple who says, Nana, the Donkorkrom happened not because of the 2 cops who escaped. There had been long-standing problems which triggered the issue. There had been several complaints that anytime Fulanese attacked the citizens in the farm, they will be granted bail within 20 minutes. But if the citizens hit a cow, he or she will be detained for days.
Yes.
So, like you're saying, that there had been some, suspicion.
Remote causes.
Yeah. So this just But let me remind you that Rumaram Production and Airtel, in partnership with Joy Prime and Adum TV, present the 8th anniversary homecoming play, Sankofa by Uncle Lebohwai. Sankofa is a laughter-filled, non-stop action play that's worth watching in good company. The dates are 27th, 28th August, and 3rd and 4th September 2016. Venue is the National Theatre. Time 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. each day, and it will be prompt. The rate is 80 Ghana Cedi. The ticket outlets are you can get it via Airtel Money or Airtel shops, Capital Bank branches, Joy FM, Shell shops, at airports, Dansuman, Sakumono, Malam, Tema, Community 11, and Achimota and East Legon, Bachona and Hacho Toto, Jane and Supermarket, Motorway Supermarket, Frankie Susu, and 37 Goyle. The ticket hotline is 026-109-4100. Or you can send them a WhatsApp now on 026-109-4664. Or visit the all new website at www.rovermanproductions.com. The main sponsors are Airtel, the smartphone network. Other sponsors, Capital Bank, Rover Report Monthly, Logistic Movers, and DDP Outdoors. Media partners are CTFM, Varsat 1, MyJoy Online, Adum TV, Joy Prime, Graphic Communications Group, Daily Guide, BNFT, Enjoy Accra, Pulse.com Ghana, and Websoft Solutions. Sankofa, get your ticket now. Roverman, be the difference that you want. We're going to go for a quick break, and when we come back, we'll find out what's going to be the way forward. Thank you very much for staying. A very important subject, and I'm sure if any police are listening, I got a message from Commissioner Gifty Enid Butcher, who says it's not fair. There should be a policeman on the panel list. Anyway,
he's retired latest. So,
so thank you very much for joining in. And yeah, we'll get the police to respond. But we're talking about friendliness and high-handedness. Commander, what can the police do to start bridging this gap apart from the PIPS business individually whilst they are out there? What should they do so that we can like them?
I think this can come from their training. When they leave the boot camp where they do marching, saluting, and weaponry, they must get back to the classroom. In the military, from the private to maybe a corporal, they do refresher courses. They have all forms of courses that they do. So you hardly will hear much of indiscipline from the boys. And I believe the police have excellent officers, good ones. But coming down the line is where we see the exhibition of indiscipline amongst them, like what we talked earlier, getting to armed robbery and the rest. But we are not saying all the policemen are like that. So time to give to that. She could have been here. but she will know that her time things were different, from how things are going on. So the content of training must be improved, so that they will see the civilian as a friend, while the public sees them as a friend they can rely on in times of need.
Last words.
Way forward.
Well, I would want to dwell on the fact that the police, immediately, as soon as possible, must release public guidelines how to react if or when they find themselves caught in a crossfire, how the public must react. This young man in Tema, if he knew, he would have just stopped whatever he was doing, attending to nature's call, to just lie flat on the floor and wait for the police to approach him.
Giving opportunity.
People do not know what to do when they find themselves in crossfire. You understand? That is one. The police must release guidelines for the public, and then also make the public aware of what is expected or how the police will conduct themselves when they get to a place where they find where they are engaged in hostilities. So that if I know that when the police gets here and then they fire a warning shot, I have to be on the ground or stand aloof and raise my hands, I do so. So I will not risk of getting shot. You understand? People flee. Two people fled. Now, as to whether those people were farmers, because in that Ramsey field there are people who were farming. As to whether they are farmers or they are real armed robbers who have run away, it remains to be, we will know later. But it's very important that the police release guidelines for the public and for their officers, that the public must also learn it. And then secondly, we are expecting that the police, in this instance, they should not behave like they have done in times past. They should release the report. Let us know what happened, how it happened, and what the police service is doing about that.
Well, it's 024 366 2001, and that's the number for Tantis Fashion, who makes my shirts for the show. 024 366 2001. Tantis Fashion. They give me all these fancy full shirts that I wear on the show. So if you want to get yourself one, give them a call. But I want to say a big thank you to Wing Commander Nene Patrick Sobojo, retired security analyst, and Nanaya Wakwada, Executive Director, Bureau for Public Safety, for this education. But I'm receiving intel that the Donkorkrom police, if you're listening to me, that things are not cool. The citizens are still aggrieved. So get in there and try and build the trust which Commander was talking about. Tomorrow we'll be back to do this all over again. Thank you very much. I couldn't catch up with the messages because of the network issues, but all those who send messages, thank you so much.
Okay.